Hello. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Calling EU. It is episode 2. I have got two awesome guests from the Netherlands. Now, Jimmy, I just naturally assumed you are from the Netherlands. And
that's correct.
yeah.
It's a good guess.
It's a good guess. I got the one and only, the king of ninth place, Ian Zhang. It is actually an impressive record, but also that the fact that you're getting into the top 16 consistently is a crazy thing. And we've got Jimmy the Waffler, right?
Yeah, now publicly known as the Waffler.
It's official now, everyone. It's Jimmy Waffler, a good friend of Ian Zhang. So just to put a bit of context to this, Jimmy, what's both of your relationships in Flesh and Blood or outside of Flesh and Blood?
I forgot the exact year, but at some point we started playing White Shorts together, which is a different card game. It's like an anime card game.
Yeah.
I think there's some in-between stops, but eventually I ended up being really convinced that Flesh and Blood was going to be a thing. In when was this? 2020, I think.
Yeah.
When we actually didn't have armory events yet, but there was like a store in the Netherlands who was just importing product and like some promos, and we would hold like small events in a random basement. It's not sus at all, but at some point I was like really convinced that Fab would be a thing, and then somehow I convinced Ian to start a Fab store.
Well, a whole Flesh and Blood store.
Wow. Yeah, for some reason we ended up opening a store that sells like singles and sealed product and stuff.
Yeah.
Could we sell sealed product at that point? I don't remember.
Yeah, at that point we could.
Right.
Yeah, so we were at some point we're like a very big singles seller in the Netherlands or like in Europe. I think me and or us and Kai of Cards, the other store that Jimmy played at, we're like the main distributors for singles everywhere.
Awesome.
It's very funny. If you ask any of the EU players, they're like, "Oh yeah, we bought from you last."
It's
at the beginning,
right?
Or they're like, "We have the token," because we used to like print these little 3D printed. I don't know if you have one around, but we had these small 3D printed ENTCG tokens that you could use for like pitch or put on your tunic or whatever.
Yeah.
And we would just include them with orders for free, and then like years later, we just find people and they're like, "Oh, you're ENTCG. I still have one of your tokens," and then they pull out one of the tokens from their deck box. And I'm like, "Wow, you actually still have this."
Wow.
You're part of the OG one. But yeah, in Europe, it happened more than I thought it would.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Is it? And you're still going, still rock and rolling?
No, we're closing this year.
Yeah. This is the twist.
Oh no, the twist. It was a run. I was going to say I'll put it in the link below, but
it was like at some point we were like organizing events and stuff, but I think after COVID it slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
And eventually we also weren't a gem store anymore because we couldn't. How do you say this in English? We couldn't abide by their regulations.
Yeah, we basically couldn't do the regular armory events as they expected from us, or like we could have, but it would require like a lot more work than we were originally planning to.
Right, got you. Yeah. Just they have an expectation, and just in the end, everything that goes on at life, it's like, okay, fair enough. It's going to be pretty tough to meet up with that. That's fair. That's fair. Well, on to awesome new things going forward.
Mostly just a lot more events to play for ourselves.
Yeah, good. Well, if anyone doesn't know, this is what we in this series we're going to be going through some topics that both Ian and Jimmy has brought along, and we've got some community questions as well. Now the series hasn't sort of kicked into life yet, so if you're probably thinking, why is the community question not thrown out there? It will, but if you do want to ask a question for the next guest, post a comment below, and then we'll bring it up into the topic for the next one. But topic number 1 is from Jimmy. How do you prepare for a tier 4 event? So, Jimmy, lay it down to us.
Okay, so the first thing I have to elaborate is this is how we think you're supposed to prepare for a tier 4 event.
This is how you're supposed to. Okay, right, go on. What am I
I don't know.
supposed to do, Jimmy? I've made it into Pro Tour London, right? I'm just this dude. I want a Pro Quest. What am I doing wrong?
Okay, this is gonna sound weird, but our thing is like mostly for teams.
Oh, okay.
Or what a team should do.
I've got
So
some
step
mates.
0.5 is to find your mates, and you're now a team, right?
Yeah. I've got T-shirts. I made a Twitter account. We're called the Wafflers, right? So.
Oh, you're my team now.
Yeah,
okay, very
yeah.
good. Do you want to explain it, Ian, or do I just go through the testing goals that we had?
So I'll preface a little bit with that. So we were in Team Stroopwafel, or we are in Team Stroopwafel, which is basically Yuki's team. There's some other notable names. Maybe you know Niatran and Fiat Fam, for example.
Yeah.
So we have been testing for Pro Tours in a team like that for ever since Pro Tour 2, Pro Tour Leo, I think.
Yeah.
I think you were in it a bit earlier. I think I joined at like when Calling Utrecht was. Wait, that might have been before Leo, though.
Calling Utrecht was before.
Okay.
So yeah, that was before
Okay,
Leo.
so
Yeah, that was when it was Uprising just kicked in and Fire was running around with stubbies.
Yeah.
I was there.
That was fun times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pro Tour 1 I played with the UK gang. It was very interesting.
Oh, did you? Unlucky.
It was actually very fun.
Oh, good.
It was a good experience.
Okay.
And basically for this Worlds, we had a big plan.
All right.
So starting with, we had like 7 or 8 weeks after, like, was slightly after Rosetta release, maybe even before Rosetta release.
Yeah.
So in the first 2 weeks, it's most important to know what is going to be meta, what are you supposed to be preparing for, and basically to cook the most broken deck you can think of.
Okay. But where does that start? Like, how do you know? Because especially in this meta, it's totally different from Pro Tour Amsterdam, when it is clearly Zen, and then you either play Zen or play the deck that beats Zen. But this one just felt a bit more open. So, how do you cook the most broken deck with a meta this
So
hard?
back in that time, we each made our own tier list, for example.
Right.
And we knew, for example, Dio would be in for Worlds, so it was like, okay, we already know that Dio is going to be like S tier, and like Enigma is probably going to be good, but it depends on other developments, such as if Florian could be good, or if Aurora is running rampant, or what are the other Ross heroes? Oh yeah, they're not relevant. Never mind.
Yeah, Celio, yeah, Ian, yeah, Celio, Verdance, yeah.
Florian was. I know that a lot of people. Florian's in that weird spot of where I know Pro Quests are totally different from like Pro Tours, and it's store events and everyone blah blah blah. But there is like a trend, isn't there? What the Pro Quest results do fall in line with people's expectations of heroes and the results that they get. And I honestly did think that Florian was doing better than everyone gave it credit for. So
yeah,
it was that a hero that was also a consideration.
I think Florian was actually turned out to have like a much better matchup into Enigma than expected, for example.
Yeah.
Until like you go levels deeper and Enigma starts like outplaying Florian's.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a weird meta.
It was a bit of a weird one. So again, you're saying as a pro team, you all made your tier 4, like your tier lists, and then you've got to try and cook the biggest baddest deck ever. So that's where we left off. Yeah.
And this time around, we had some very, very interesting decks that we managed to cook. So like calling Lyon was at the end of our cooking phase, basically. And we started cooking with Counter Blessings Enigma,
Yeah.
which yeah, I mean,
I mean, at that time,
right now,
it was like, this might be kind of good. The
Yeah.
people haven't been playing it at ProQuest, but we should probably look into it. And then it turns out that everyone looks into it.
Yes.
But
They all.
at that
Yeah.
time, it wasn't like that.
No. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everyone was hiding it. It was
Yeah.
actually kind of glorious. It was
Yeah. It was like the Lexi thing. You know, when
Such a
everyone
good thing.
goes, "Oh, maybe no one knows Lexi's broken," but everyone knows that Lexi's broken,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no one talks about it, and then they show
It
up.
was really funny. Yeah, it's like the public hidden deck. Like everyone is actually on the same thing. Just
Yeah.
nobody knows of the other people that they're on the same thing.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah. So at the time, you're cooking up with Count Your Blessings Enigma. At the time, you know, some. Oh, look at the spice we found. Yeah.
yeah, it was. It actually felt like I had the best deck in the room, because my Counter Blessings Enigma actually beats Counter Blessings Enigma. And
Oh.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
and
Okay.
that was pretty good. I had like a solid, slightly worse than normal Enigma mirror, but it was like near 50-50.
Right.
And it felt pretty good. And then I lost to a lot of chaos, and
Oh.
yeah, well, I didn't prepare that matchup well. Let's just say that.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing, isn't it? So how do you prepare for something like that? Because what made you sort of go, this is like you got a meta so wide, like I said, you think you've got the best deck in the room, and you have, but you didn't prepare for X, Y, and Z. So how does a pro team prepare for Worlds?
Well, to be very honest, it's very hard to prepare for every matchup
Yeah,
because
course.
there's just so many viable heroes. So in the end, it's like obviously you're supposed to do your own grinding on Talishar, for example, or getting like testing sessions together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very hard to get like testing sessions together. We are also in a very international team.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's hard to get like games in with an American expert on a specific hero.
Yeah, the time zones for Americans is very real, isn't it? Like, it's just a nightmare.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just do your own due diligence, try to get some good reps in on Talishar and get a good conclusion out of it.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Jimmy? What like in this process? I guess really as well as a team, do you all agree to take the same deck, or are you that guy that goes, I know that Count Your Blessings Enigma is a very good choice. I'm a bit of a Bolton main myself, but I don't really, you know, maybe Bolton is the worst option, but do you know what I mean? You have your guys, you have that. It was an interesting topic that Bartosz brought up about play styles, the way you play the game. You find heroes that lend into that way you play the game. So Ian, you've been very known to pilot Dromai in such a way that lets you sort of play aggressive or play fatiguey. It's a very open box, like sandbox kind of deck that gives you a lot of pivots and options. It doesn't surprise me that you've also pivoted into Enigma that is not the same, but has that same flavor. Do you know what I mean? And it happens to be the best deck. So, but if you're not that sort of person that wants to play that sort of deck, would you pick that deck up and start going, oh, okay, I guess I'm a Guardian main now, and oh, time to learn Kano. I'm like, oh, it's not what I tend to do. I love playing Ninja and Fire, you know what I mean? It's really pretty easy in my style. So, Jimmy, were you in that boat where you have to start picking up something different, or did you just want to do your own thing? You're in a team.
So I think this is an interesting subtopic that it like devolves into several subtopics. So like one is like, is there a best deck?
Is there?
So that's the first question I would ask. In our team, I know we weren't on the same page if there was a best deck, or everyone thought it was a different one. So I guess we can go into it now because it's after Osaka anyways. So in our team we had several players that were on Aurora. So it's like the list that Ellie, Mia, and Yuki, they cooked it together at the start of ProQuest already. I think I won like a ProQuest at the beginning of the ProQuest season. On it's very similar. I think it's basically the same list. It might be 1-2 cards different.
Yeah, you leaked our team list.
Yeah, I
can't
got so
believe this,
much
Jimmy.
flame because I leaked the team list because it was posted on the Fab TCG homepage. I was like, it's over for me. I'm gonna get kicked out.
Okay, so
but yeah, some of us thought it was Aurora and actually ended up registering Aurora for Worlds. Some of us thought it was Enigma.
yeah,
But even within Enigma, you have like two camps. It's like Enigma or it's CYB Enigma.
yeah.
I think Ian was a bit lonely on his CYB Enigma train. I don't really think anyone was considering to bring CYB Enigma to Worlds except for Ian.
Tata was.
Oh, Tauta was.
And did.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. We should also explain that we also tested a little bit with players outside of our team. So Tauta was one of them. He's like probably one of the best assassin players in the world, and somehow ended up being one of the best CYB Enigma players. But okay, it was Ian and Tao on the CYB Enigma train. There's a couple of us that are on the I don't know if you can call it regular. We played like a very aggressive Enigma list. I think it was like
Yeah, we have
Phantasmaplasm,
Pummel Enigma.
Pummel, yeah.
Pummel Enigma. Okay, so as a team, then, are you always trying out different things? Like, do you follow the same sort of formula each and every time, or do you have to so Pro Tour London's coming up? So what you did to get ready for Osaka, are you going to follow the same sort of plan again to prepare, or do you think you're actually going to sort of mix some new ideas up with following the same basic plan of find the best deck, everyone make a tier list, da 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 da? Do you know what I mean?
I think this is your time to explain what we were supposed to do, Ian.
I think our basic plan was very solid,
Yeah.
but it's also like very time constrained, and it was very hard to stay within the plan. Let's say that.
Okay.
So we ended up cooking, for example, Counter Blessings Enigma, and basically the system reset -IO list that Sam Sutherland also ended up on.
Yeah.
Like something in that direction where you just turn for OTK them out of nowhere. We tried to optimize it. It didn't work out well. Counter Blessings Enigma did work out well. So for ProQuest week 1, we tried to make a matchup matrix and to kind of get everything together. Like, what are the best matchups? What should we be preparing for Worlds? Pretty much. You can also check out like what kinds of representations there are on each local ProQuest, because that will kind of be representative of what's going to be showing up at Worlds. And then we slowly kind of update that matchup matrix every time so that we can keep making choosing the new best deck and format.
Right.
Based on that matrix. And in the end, like, just get some good reps in, just clean up your sideboard. Don't last minute pivot like us.
Oh, what was your okay.
We can have a short story about this because it involves Bartosz. So Bartosz, he PMs me at 4 a.m. the day before the day of Worlds. 4 a.m. the day of Worlds. He's like, Jimmy, I'm afraid of CYP. I think I should play more Poison Duels. I'm like, yeah, I guess. At this point, we're not testing together, so I don't know exactly what his experience is. But I'm like, okay, I guess you played a lot against CYB Enigma. That's my guess.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I guess you should play more Poison Duels. We end up discussing Gravekeeping as well. And then we go to bed like an hour later after that. And then in the morning, I find Ian at the venue. Or I don't know when exactly I told Ian, but at some point in the morning, I find Ian at the venue. I'm like, hey, Ian, Bartosz said he's going to play more Poison Duels, and we could consider Gravekeeping as well. What do you think? Because I know he's on CYB Enigma at this point, and then he's like, This
Oh.
might not be the greatest situation ever for me if everyone is prepared for CYB Enigma. So he actually at like what time is
I
this?
know
9 a.m.
you're already pivoting. You're like, I've got to adjust to this potential thing that the rumors are coming, and
Well,
I mean,
the point
I
is
mean,
he
I
has two deck
knew
lists.
I knew that Aurora was going to be playing Poison the Well, and I was like, okay, that's completely fine.
Hmm.
And like, just Bartosz is also completely fine, right? And then Philip also comes in
Yeah.
and tells me that he's also playing Poison the Well for CYV Enigmas, and I'm like,
There's too many people on it now.
Right.
And then,
So I ended up bringing Dio in the end.
Oh, what the hell was this?
yeah,
No!
he has two deck lists and two decks brought, and he was gonna register CYB Enigma as far as I know, and then these two things come in, and he's like, okay, it's time to get out. It's time to play.
No, Ian.
Dio.
Was that okay? I actually don't know the record of where it came, but I did it go okay? Did you get?
What do you think? Can
No,
you guess?
did I? Well,
You have
normally, no.
9 rounds of CC, right? You can guess his record.
Oh, okay, because you've also got draft in there as well.
Yeah, I'm just counting the rounds of CC. It's 9, right?
Now, Ian, you're a very good player, but this is Dash.io, and from everything you've said to me before about I've been testing Dash.io with this, it didn't work out well. That was the last of what I heard of your Dash.io. So now you've picked
That's
something
very
that
correct,
didn't
yeah.
work out too well. I'd say 5-4.
I went 8-1.
Oh well, Ian, I should have never doubted your ability. But sometimes
I
it
screwed
can.
up draft.
Oh right, you 8-1'd it. Okay.
Okay, this is
Well,
not for the record. This is not something I'm saying you should try to do yourself. Don't try this at home.
No, don't
Uh,
don't do this. But like, were you happy? Obviously, 8-1, yes. But were you happy with that choice because you've been spending this whole time playing Enigma, Count Your Blessings, and sometimes some people go, "Look, I just want to commit to the thing that I want to do," and I assume you enjoy playing that deck. It's quite. Do you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
And to not do
It was pretty fun.
So it was fun to just play to just go right. No, I'm going to play Dio.
I mean, obviously, it's like you can't say that it was like a good, like, I don't know how to bring it. I would have liked playing Count Your Blessings Enigma, and I think it was a good deck, and I think the Mr. World Champion Kowalski also agrees with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad that CYB Enigma ended up winning Worlds, because it means that I did prepare the correct deck.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also happy with my choice for Dio because I went 8-1, right? That's like a perfect record, or a very good record.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because if that didn't pan out too well, then you suddenly go, well, no, I definitely made the wrong choice then. Do you know what I mean? It's always hindsight that kicks in that goes, it was the right choice. But sometimes, I don't know, could you have won all the games you played with Dio? Could you have won with Enigma?
No.
Oh, okay. So
I would have won.
Right, okay, perfect then. Perfect choice.
I think I would have won like 6-3 with Enigma.
Okay.
I think some of the context you should also bring into this is that Ian has played Dio before. It's not like he's last minute deciding to play Dio with no practice.
No, I
even
assumed he did.
Before the Armory deck, I think calling Amsterdam or Pro Tour Amsterdam. At that point, he was also you registered it for calling Amsterdam, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he has played Dio before, and I think it's a deck that he likes playing. Basically, the meme we have is Ian likes drawing cards.
Yeah, drawing cards is good.
And Dio kind of draws a card every turn, you know? If you don't
good.
play Spark and Cerebellum, we're not even counting that. We're looking at the top deck and we're playing one. It's kind of like drawing one. So I think for Ian, this was a good choice because it also suits what he likes to do in a game. He likes to have a lot of options, I guess. He likes to draw cards. That's what we
Yeah, yeah.
Bring it down to you.
I'll end this and say that if you said to me, you should have just said, no, Ian really doesn't play that much Dio. Yeah, he just picked this up in 8 and Wonder. That would have been
that's the clickbait version.
Yeah, that's the clickbait version. Right.
You can try it. I'm not responsible for your results, but you can try it if you want.
That is some top tier pro tips to how to prepare for Worlds. Swap decks on the night with no testing.
On the morning.
On the morning with no testing.
I mean, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
I actually didn't test Counter Blessings Enigma that much going into Worlds because I already knew like most of the spread, and I spent a lot of time playing Dio because that was the deck that needed more solving. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So actually, it just seems like you, from the sounds of things, you knew that Enigma was probably the best one, but you actually spent your time doing Dio, and then in the end, you jumped into Dio, and you kind of repped up, right? You've already just been doing lots of training, doing it, so now you just got to just sort of go, right, time to jump and see this. Let's put this to the test, and it actually just worked out well. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Right, we're going to move this topic on now, and Ian, we're going to move on to your topic, which is how the high-end market is changing for Flesh and Blood, or in general?
Maybe in general.
In general.
In general. Okay, well, we keep it within the Flesh and Blood side of things, but in general, sure. Cool. Take it away. How is the high-end market changing?
So, how do we start this?
Okay.
So basically,
yeah. Go ahead.
Basically, recently we've been noticing that all the most expensive cards in Flesh and Blood. So think of gold foils. Think of like the anime Enigma. Think of maybe the Ira Marvel.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
My high end stuff is more like the cold foil, Welcome to Wraith, Arcane Rising, Crucible of War. That's like, in my world, still peak.
I mean, there's also that. I think that's also included.
Yeah.
I mean, surprisingly, those are also quite low now compared to the other cards.
Right.
Yeah. So how all of those are actually just dropping in price right now, by like quite a high margin, and it's been a little bit worrisome for me because like I've been maxing my decks like to the farthest point you can max them pretty
He
much.
has gold
so it's
foil, everything.
I've had like
Tunic.
For example, my Dromai deck it had like full gold foil, Crown of Providence, gold foil, balance. No, not balance. Crown of Dominion.
Oh my
Furnace, 6 marvels of each dragon, all of them signed if possible, stuff like that.
You just sent it, like
Yeah.
to the moon. Right.
I have
And
like
beyond,
16 Marvel Ashwings and a lot of cold foils signed Ashwings that I got my friends to sign.
Got you. Right.
Also, you know how in Dromai there's like the flippy dragons? All the dragons are flippy. They have a backside.
Yeah.
So normal people, they flip them, right?
Yeah.
And then there's one step above. I think people have like the non-foil as outside of their deck, and they just put it on top of the table.
Yeah.
And then you have Ian. He has 6 marvels that are all signed. So this is like the max step.
Right. Okay.
Oh, is he getting his Dromai deck now? I think that's what he's doing. Oh yeah.
Look at this.
He has a
signed by Muzetti.
Oh,
he's a fancy deck box too. Sure.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. So you got Dromai, you sent it to the moon, but you're noticing a trend. What that the high end stuff are dropping.
Yep.
And it's worrying you.
So as you might have noticed, Dromai is LL.
Yeah. yeah, definitely. In my opinion, thank God that hero was a bit. It was cool design, cool concept, and absolute pain in the ass to play against. So, as someone that doesn't play Dromai, I'm pretty happy to see that hero gone. To be honest, but yeah.
But it's kind of like a general trend for me that I'm like, okay.
What's worrying? What's worrying?
I spent how much money on like maxing this deck, and then suddenly the deck becomes LL, and I'm like, I can't sell these gold foils for a good price anymore right now because it's LL. Um, I
Hmm.
can buy gold foils for the next one, but like how much money am I going to put down the drain for this, right?
Sure. So I think there's a philosophical question here. For you, Ian, I honestly think you did not do this for like the. I know that not all of it. I'm sure you did it to sort of get some sort of value by like once you've done it, there's some value that's still attached to it. You can pass it on if you want to. It's not a total waste. But you didn't need to send it as hard as you sent it. That part
No.
was because you love this hero, you love this deck,
Yeah.
and you just want to do it. That is just a you thing. It is not a financial advice decision to go that far in, right?
No,
But
it never is.
it never is. But are you just worried on the like the normal end of things? If someone if someone is a high end collector, or what? Like, how far are we going here that you're worried about?
I mean, we have slowly been noticing that decks have been owing way faster than than before, right? So like
Yeah.
in the past, I could play Prism for how many seasons would it be? Like 4 or 5 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
A good time, yeah. The
something
OG
in
Prism.
that direction. So that was great. I was like, okay, I'm fine with letting go of my gold foil footsteps, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be see some use later. Um, with Roma, it was like, okay, I've had 3 or 4 seasons of play with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also
Reasonable.
okay.
I think she
They
stuck
released a broken
around.
card and she LL'd.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think she stuck around. Like, her and Prism had a lifetime of like, yeah, you know what? I don't think it's not like Starva. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It is
it's not
just
Sarvo.
no, and I don't even think that they even went at the same pace as Zen and Enigma is at the minute. Zen and Enigma are going.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah.
it's such a fast trend right now. Now it's like maybe 2 or 3 seasons if you have a good deck, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, are you just worried about like people who are just investing into the sort of the high end stuff, like the gold foils and the stuff that really people who really want to like get the good, shiny, shiny, shiny stuff of this stuff of these heroes, and then they're gone, and then the high end value of this stuff isn't as high anymore. Is that sort of the premise of it?
Continue.
No,
Oh, no.
it's
Okay.
just that there's no demand anymore because like why would you max out your deck for only 2 seasons?
I think it's a
Oh,
It's
combination. It's a
it's
combination of things, right? Because like
yeah.
one is things living legend faster, so you get like less time to enjoy what you bought, in a
I,
way.
yeah.
I'll debate that. I'll debate that. I think it's kind of. I think we've been seeing a bit of it, and not to sort of defend it. And I do
Mhm.
agree that some things have been going fast and stuff. Like the worst thing was Starvo, for
Yeah.
sure. But there was a point where you've got some factors here. You've got the living legend points that are always changing and fluctuating, right? You've also got the amount of events that they had, and then it's also the power level of the heroes of that time. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different sort of factors in play that tells a story in that moment. I don't think that
Mhm.
there's lots of heroes living legending very fast, in my opinion. I think that there's been some that were just rocketed up to the moon because they just suddenly turned around and went, we're going to give living legend points a pretty high number for some reason. And then that high number just goes, oh, so not only is this hero is the best one, you seem to have just given ProQuest or RTM points at pretty high levels of like the number's really high for some strange reason. Oh, look, they're winning loads. Oh, look, their points are just going nuts. Okay, that was a story that happened. And then you've got some ProQuests that are like, bro, you get like 2 points for a win. And then it's also the hero spread of winning is kind of wide. So
Yeah.
the ProQuest thing's done, and everyone goes, nothing's really happened. Do you know what I mean? It's just so I think
Mhm.
there's been different sort of stories going on. I think the Enigma and Zen is like the first time I felt I've seen a hero start just going to the moon again since the days of Starvo. I think everyone else has just been kind of piddling along at a reasonable pace of like, you know, Prism and Dromai and Icelander and Oldhim and Lexi and Briar, all of them never felt fast. They were like, oh yeah, it's their time. It's been. That's how I felt.
Lexi once Outsiders release was like
Yeah,
actually near servo levels.
Yeah, no,
and
no, 100%.
That's kind of the trend. It's like
that
LSS releases Broken Card, and it goes oh.
Yeah, although Oldhim was the one that she never actually won any major events, but she did just completely storm the ProQuest and RTN seasons, which did manage to go nuts. It was Oldhim was also kind of, you know, battling that and also collecting these points up at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So, but she's been around long enough. Do you know what I mean? To make you go, cool, like she's gone, and I don't feel like she just arrived.
I for Lexi, I do feel like it's just like, okay, LSS drops a bomb and now she's gone.
Yeah.
And you can kind of say the same about Enigma, right? Because like MSC Enigma was not very interesting. She auto lost to Zen.
Yeah.
They do the book banning, and then Enigma gains 700 OL points in one season.
I think that it is a bit of a tough one. I think that if you're getting into a high-end market, what's awkward is that I do think that it depends what hero you're collecting for. If you wanted to get some high-end stuff for Riptide, you know, you'll be good for a bit. Same with Levia. There you go, Manson. I am poking fun at you. If you're gonna get some high-end stuff for Levia, I think you're gonna be sitting all right using that stuff for a long time. But I know what you mean. If you're going, I really love Enigma. I wanted to get all this cool stuff for it. And then it just goes, and you're like, oh no. And I suppose really the next question is that faith, isn't it? Of, have you moved your Dromai stuff on?
No. I haven't tried to, but I also don't feel like I will be getting anywhere near what I spent on it, for example.
Sure.
And
I
also feel like maybe I'll just use it for another hero. It's like, it's fine.
Okay.
To just hold it.
But
I'm not in much of a need for money at the moment, but
what about Prism?
If I were, I would be sad.
Did you get some high end stuff for Prism?
Yeah, that was also, I think it was maxed. I think it was maxed.
Yeah, and then
there weren't that many legendaries in that.
No, and then the new Prism comes out. Did that make you go, "Oh, cool"? I know new Prism is not the exact same as the other one. I know, but do you know what I mean?
I mean, the new Prism asked me to buy a new gold foil chess piece.
Right. Okay. But do you know? But if you kept it all and stuff, did the value then go back up again? Do you know what I mean? Like Prism can just turn around and go, "I printed something for Prism. She's not very good," and then all of a sudden, doesn't it all just go up then?
So that's one weird thing. They don't go up.
Oh.
And I think it's part of another reason why gold foils and such are losing value, and that's the lack of collectors at the moment, or the loss of faith from the collectors, if that makes sense.
Okay, this is a
collector
side.
Investors.
This is a side that I'm not fully on, if that makes sense. I you know when you just think, I'm sure it's fine over there. I don't really know, but you're saying that the collectors side of things is starting to drop off a little bit.
I feel like it is.
You feel like it is. Okay.
I don't know if it's really a fab thing. I think there's like some factors that play into this. I think one of them is that COVID was a thing, and there was a lot more money going around during COVID in the TCG market in general. Like everything was expensive. It's not just Flesh and Blood cards. I think they do peaked at that time. But it's like all the other TCGs as well, like Pokemon. You have like all the Charizards going around. You have Umbreon. I think Umbreon from Evolving Skies is still around $1,000 or something like that.
Okay.
But I think during COVID there was a lot more money, going around because people couldn't really spend it on anything else.
Yeah.
Because you normally you'd go on like holiday every year, right?
Right.
You spend a couple grand on this. Now you like have a couple grand, and what do you spend it on? I think some people decided to spend it on cards.
Mhm.
And I think that's how the prices ended up going up during that period. I think for a more recent cause of this is that there's a lot of TCGs out there now.
Mhm.
Like before it was just MTG, was it MTG, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon? That's like the big ones. Now you have, what do you have? You have like Lorcana.
One
Lorcana is
Piece.
huge. You have One Piece is huge.
Mhm.
I'm probably forgetting something here,
I,
but
I th- those are the two that spring to my mind. You have also got like you've got Weiss, you've got Digimon, you've got what's it, Altered TCG, you got Sorcery. There's loads, right?
sorcery, right?
Yeah, but there are loads, and maybe it's that it's that perception, isn't it? Of if I'm seeing it and hearing it, it must be like doing all right, and then it's that confirmation bias of if I listen to other YouTubers and they just bring up the thing I've also heard about, it just shows you that oh yeah, they're saying it's big, so it must be big. It must be just really big everywhere. And I'm not saying that they're not, but One Piece and Lorcana does bring to my mind that I'm hearing that more everywhere. So that
It's
must
just
be, and
that-
it also is pretty big where I am. That is,
Yeah.
so it must be big, right?
It's just that I don't think the amount of collectors is growing as fast as the amount of games, if that makes sense. Like
Mm.
I feel like some of the collectors in Fab have moved on to other games, if that makes more sense.
It's a feeling. It's kind of weird, isn't it? I I don't honestly know. I can't super weigh in on the collector side of things. I think it's because I'd never do very well at events, so I never get a gold foil. So I've got nothing ever to say who wants to buy a gold foil. But the only time I see a collector pop up, in my experience, is when I do a spoiler for Flesh and Blood. They give you the spoiler card that you spoiled plus a cold foil card of that whatever it is of that set. So in Rosetta, they gave me a cold foil Felling of the Crown, which I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's sick, right? And then you realize there's only however many people that did a spoiler is how many copies of a card that is. So there's less than 50. That's a cold foil Felling of the Crown, and there's only less than 50 of them. That's incredibly rare. And I always do get some. I have got this one guy that keeps buying. I'm not going to name anything, but they're there. They are there. So to me, I feel like, oh, the collectors are still here, right? Because I can sell this card to whoever. I also sold is it Cosmic Awakening from MST? Yeah,
That was also sick.
Yeah, that was also sick. I got that as a cold foil, and then I sat on it because the guy who normally buys it off me didn't want to get it because he got his copy. So I left it to Pro Tour Amsterdam, went to Hamel, and he immediately went, yeah, I've got all my copies. I can just call someone up and bang, there you go. So in my world, I'm like, yeah, the collectors are there. They're willing to buy my stuff. It's whether I don't think the collectors have left Fab TCG. I think they're just sort of looking at things and going, there's a lot of gold foils now. How many gold foils do I need, really?
But here's my question: Are for cards like Felling of the Crown and Cosmic Awakening,
Yeah,
are the buyers collectors or are they player collectors?
I don't.
And I think
Yeah.
they're players.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
We
Because
actually have
they're
an
very
example of
playable
this.
cards.
Yeah, they
Because-
are very playable. But I mean, when you've only got 50 of them, do you want to start shuffling it?
I mean, it depends on.
Yeah.
I have cards that are
Yeah, I
that
know.
I'm shuffling that are more than that. So
I know. I am shuffling
I know.
first ed CNCs in my decks. I've only got these 2 copies of first edition Arcane Rising CNCs. Yeah, I am slamming in my decks. I know I should probably preserve them and probably sell them because they're worth something, whatever. So I do know what you mean. I don't know about this one. I
think there is a bunch of player collectors because, for example, we also know that like 1 or 2 weeks ago, I know Michael Fung was looking to buy a Felling playset.
Of
play,
cold foil.
basically. Yeah.
Oh, should have hang on.
So,
Yeah,
also
same
the fact that
for-
they're in play sets, it goes pretty fast. Like if there's like a couple players that want to play set, you go through your what was your estimate? Like 50?
I
Then you
think it's
go
less than
pretty
50.
fast.
I think it's
Yeah.
around less than 40 even.
Yeah, it's
So you only need 10 players for the felling, for example.
yeah,
So
yeah.
or yeah,
It is
13.
it is an interesting one. It fit, and I suppose if you've got as much of these high end collectible stuff as you do, you're engaging with the collector's market far more than I am, if that makes sense. So to you, if you're trying to move something on and there's no bite, it feels like no one's no one's interested anymore. And for me, I feel like there are because I don't engage with it too much. I just show up with one thing and it just snaps straight out of my hand straight away. So I'm thinking, oh, the collector's market, see, it feels pretty fine. Do you know what I mean?
But also that's because it depends on your price, right? And it
It
depends
is
on
true.
like the quantity of like the print run of a card. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you sell, let's say, a Cosmic Awakening for 300, I don't know what a normal price is for it.
Yeah,
That sounds completely fine for like a 1 in 30 card.
yeah, yeah,
I think I would buy it for 300.
yeah.
So, but I'm not sure what the market price for those things are. So
But to me, I always find it very awkward when I think there definitely are collectors like that because if I've had some stuff before, and I think people just need to know where to find the collectors. I think that's the hardest bit because I think a lot of people go and take their cards to the wrong market. It's almost like showing up with a Ferrari and going to the car boot sale and going, right, I'm selling this Ferrari for £50,000 and everyone in the car boot never buys it because you're like, oh God, there's no one wants to buy my car. It's like, no, you've gone to the car boot sale. Everyone shows up with a tenner. They're there to buy cheap stuff. And you've rocked up with a big card. No one on the UK marketplace and the Discord is going to buy a £300 calling or whatever. They want to buy a £5 Majestic. That's all they're there for. Do you know what I mean? So unless you know where the collectors are, it feels like no one wants to buy any high end stuff. But they do exist. They do exist. It's
I do
just
feel like
yeah,
the player collectors are more popular. I just thought of something because
yeah,
I
because you know
know
where they are.
Arcanite Skullcap crashed after Crown release.
Yeah,
Both the gold foil and the cold foil, I think.
yeah,
But well, I think there are only 40 gold foils. That's
of
true.
each card, of each legendary.
Yeah.
mm,
And I feel like the demand for that card just evaporated when Providence came out because the players moved on to playing Providence, and then you only have the collectors that are really looking for Arcanite Skullcap, I think. But I kind of noticed that the price went down.
well, yeah, Arcanite
That point.
definitely did go down. But then at the end of the day, things happen, don't they? People will. I think everything ebbs and flows. If Flesh and Blood is able to continue to keep going, it's able to keep doing its world events and its tier 4 events and its callings, and then it's now year 10 of the game and it's still flowing along in the pace that it's going. It does just take a magic moment, and all games just do this, and they go, hey, do you remember this game? And all of a sudden, you can just get old computer games like World of Warcraft. Christ almighty, that game goes on forever. And then all of a sudden, people would just go, oh, it's so good. And everyone just jumps back on. And you're like, why? Well, it hasn't changed. It's been the same thing going on and on and on. But it's done something cool when it's hit the right moment. And then everyone piles in. And then you're sitting there, Ian, with all your Dromai stuff. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you go, oh, Christ, everyone wants to buy this at really crazy prices. Time to sell. I think what is, how, as Rudy
That would be
says,
great.
diamond hands. But that's the point. You got to just sort of ride it and just go, let's just see what happens. At the end of the day, my objective was I brought these cards because I like them and I had a plan for it. And there's a risk. I may not get my money back for this. I may do. But that's my sort of take of what I think you should do. I did it with Viscerai. I didn't go full nuts like you did with Dromai, but I got some good stuff. I go out my way to get the better thing. I want to get the colorful this and the whatever. And I know that whatever I spent on it is probably not worth what I'm going to sell it for, but my plan was, I love this hero, I love this idea, I want to get the cool stuff for this. I'll hold. If it doesn't sell, it wasn't a waste. I had my fun with it. It's, you know, it hit the shelf life, if that makes sense. If I buy a computer game, I hope I don't sell it and it's worth more when I'm done with the computer game. Oh no, bro, it's done. You know, did you get your worth out of it? Yes, I did. Cool.
Yeah,
it's done now. Yeah, that's how
I definitely
look at
think that's how you should look at like buying decks and reselling decks. Like if you can resell it for 70%, that's perfectly fine.
Mm.
You didn't spend too much for your playtime on it, right?
No. I know it. Yeah, no, I didn't spend too much on it. But then I jumped in when it was 2020, so Crucible of War was out, and all that, and that's how I managed to get some first edition stuff, because that's, you know, Arcane Rising wasn't the super rare. It was just Arcane Rising, so I just brought some Arcane Rising first edition boxes and just ripped them all opened some cards, and went, oh, CNC, I heard that's pretty good. And then all of a sudden, but it doesn't matter. Do you mean it's just it's just what you. I played it, I collected it, I got it. I'll keep it. To be honest, I've got a gold full Raiden. I'm gonna keep it.
Oh, you have one?
Yeah, I've got a gold full Raiden. I graded it. It's Gem 10 or whatever. That's
nice.
Yeah. It'll never go. It's gonna be on my shelf. It's gonna be a piece and period time of my life that I collected Bolton. Why? But do you know what I mean? I've just got this thing. I spent more money. I've got the extended art Luminaris and all that sort of stuff. My idea of that is, this was a really fun project, and I like Warhammer. If I collect a Warhammer army, I paint my army up. All that time, all that energy. I wanted to get a really cool looking army. How much is this worth when I'm done? Oh, bros, you know that 500 quid you spent on your Space Marine army? You ain't getting that 500 quid back. That time you spent is gone. But did you enjoy the ride? I enjoyed the ride. Cool, man. Put it in your shelf or in a case and remember that time you had with the game. That's my sort of take on it. And if for whatever reason, 10 years down the road, you don't play this game anymore, but all of a sudden it's super popular, hey, you can cash in.
I do think that if Living Legend becomes like a real format, it's a big game changer. Like if people actually get to play like more callings in Living Legend, and like I get to play Dromai again, for example. I don't think she's a great deck in Living Legend at the moment, but maybe she is. I haven't tested it too much.
No. But yeah, that just makes sense. It just opens the card pool up, and it opens the appetite up. And if everyone then, I think it will take more than just the big calling stuff. It's basically the trend has to come into the store. If everyone just goes like, you know, standard in Magic is fine, but everyone loves modern, and no one wants to play standard in the shop. Everyone wants to play modern. That is the market, really. That's where people go, you know, I really want to get the cool looking thing for my deck. And you're like, okay, cool. That's when if everyone wants to do that for Living Legend, then you're in.
One problem with that is that our standard is just too good most of the times.
Our standard is pretty hot. So I'm going to end this. I'm going to move this on to the last topic, which is something I brought up. I'm going to basically just piggyback off what Arsenal Pass was talking about. I thought it was actually a really interesting topic in general, and I'd love to get both of your takes on it. Is there too many heroes in the game of Flesh and Blood? Right now, I don't know if there's there is no right or wrong answer, because it's just how people feel. But Jimmy, and we're going to keep this to CC, not Living Legend. Living Legend is obviously the most, but for some reason no one cares, because really there's only like 4 good heroes, and if you're playing Living Legend, if you're rocking up with Arachne, you can, but you know, Starvo and Starvo's real.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know what I mean. No one cares about Living Legend format having too many heroes. It's the CC side that's the thing that everyone's got to get that right. So Jimmy, do you think there's too many heroes in CC at the minute?
What's the number right now? Well, I have no idea what the number is.
33.
I feel like they're
Sounds
almost...
a lot, doesn't it, when you say that?
I feel like to me there can't be too many heroes in CC.
That's
I feel like
interesting.
if you have a lot of heroes, well, it depends what your goal is. But to me, if you have a lot of heroes, not all of them are gonna be as strong as the rest anyway. But the more heroes there are, the higher the chance that there is for someone to have a hero that they like playing in CC. And I feel like for the meta, it doesn't really matter whether there's 30 or 70 if there's like 5 good ones. Then 6 to 70 doesn't really matter for the super spiky players.
Okay. There is a topic. There's an interesting point on that of where, okay, let's just say we've got 70 heroes, right? We're now League of Legends of the TCG world, okay? Now, not everyone in League of Legends is very good, right? You know, they ebb and flow and they peak, and the difference is that because they're, you know, it's a digital game, you can just adjust to make those tweaks incredibly easy. It's just, it ebbs and flows a lot quicker, blah 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 blah. But in this game, it is slow, right? I love playing Bolton, right? As no matter how many cards they give him, the guy's only ever okay. And if they're just going to keep making more heroes, more and more and more and more and more, does it just take it longer and longer and longer to sort of adjust those really cool heroes that you've already got out? Like there are some Betsy fans, there are some Olympia fans. There's some. I know Arachne's going to get some love for sure, but you know, do you know what I mean? Does that make it harder and harder and harder, even though you got all these people wanting to play these heroes, but they're actually not supported well enough? So then people will go, "Oh, I really love this game because it's so hero based, but what's the point picking the one I like because it's just going to they'll never get to sorting them out. All they'll do is print another goddamn hero." I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I'm talking in the extremes here a bit.
I feel like that kind of matters more on how many classes or subtypes they end up making. Like Mystic is like, I don't know what it's called. Is it a subtype?
Yeah, Mystic is a
talent.
talent.
Talent, yeah. I feel like if they don't go to too many classes, then eventually, like let's say we have Bolton's a light warrior, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have too many talents or too many classes, like eventually you're gonna get warrior and light cards, and Bolton will change a little bit. But I do see your point.
It's a feeling
that your hero might never be like competing for the top spot, if that makes sense.
I mean, but it's all up to LSS, right?
Yeah, I feel like that doesn't have to do with how many heroes there are.
Yeah,
because I feel like if there are 70 heroes and suddenly they're like, okay, I think it's Bolton time right now, so we're gonna print like 5 good Bolton cards in Bolton Armory deck 2, and now Bolton is cracked. Then it doesn't really matter whether there were 30 or 70 heroes, because then they just decided to make Bolton good, right?
It's hard to find like design time for like designing for each and every one of those 70 heroes. However, did you hear, by the way, that they're planning to print a Bolton support card in the expansion slot for the next one?
Yeah, it's called the Warcry of Bologna.
Yeah.
So like
cards
the expansion slot is great.
Yeah.
So like they have like, what is it, 12 support cards for heroes that are currently underperforming.
Yeah.
And some of those support cards might just pull them up all the way to like the top tier.
Yeah.
And that's great when it happens, right?
Yeah.
Like Bolton player rejoice when Warcry of Bologna actually makes it that good.
It won't, but yeah. I don't even know what the card does.
Bolton Copium. That's the Bolton Copium. It's also always like one more card and Bolton is good.
Bolton is forever needing 5 good cards. And even when that good card come along, we still say we need 5 good cards.
Yeah.
But also like for Dan's getting some more support, stuff like that. I'm pretty happy with where we are right now. Maybe Olympia gets some support with Olympia is a warrior, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
Warriors
Olympia
need
gets
support.
some support with the warrior cards in the next set.
Yeah.
everything could happen, really.
It's that I think I know that objectively that it's totally fine, right? They're not going to just start printing stuff into oblivion. It's just mostly it's interesting how people feel, even though it is not objectively or factually correct. If someone feels the way they feel about it, then it gets harder. Do you know what I mean? To try and get that right, and it is hard to. You're never going to please everyone because obviously you guys are very competitive. So when you're very competitively minded, you're wanting to just play, the best deck, and it's fun to play. Yeah, and some people are very much going, no, I'm this hero, and I just want the support for this hero. And when they're going, and here's another hero, and here's another hero, I can see why I can empathize with why people might go, this just feels like it's just too many heroes. Plus, when you say there's 33 heroes, I started in 2020 when there was
8.
There was 8 heroes, and then all of a sudden Monarch came out, and you go, okay, there's now 12 heroes.
Yeah.
This is okay, fine. You know what I mean? And then I just looked back and went, 33? It doesn't feel like 30, like 20 more heroes have came out since I started playing.
Yeah.
But there has. And some of them have also Living Legends, and we're still on 33. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how many heroes did come out? It's that weird thing of where when I see a new hero come out for a new set, I'm really hyped. I love it. I'm like, oh, new heroes. And every time I see a new set, if I see a reprint of Reinhardt, I always go, boo, this is boring. But then I'm also moaning that there's more heroes. So, like, what do I want? That should be the topic. Do we know what we want?
Also, one thing I do think I'm worried about is like them printing like bloat heroes. Like, for example, Betsy and Olympia.
Yeah.
They don't really have a role in the meta, and they were just there for drafts like as it stands.
Yeah.
And
now they're going to deal with it.
That kind of design is bad.
Yes.
So they'll need to fix it in some way. But maybe just the wager mechanic in itself is not good enough for.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Acilio and Verdant. So maybe I'm being a bit mean on Acilio. He's done all right. He does okay. But Verdant is also like, I mean, she had a shot in Living Legend, which was wild, and but like in CC, she doesn't have that same sort of feeling as Olympia and Betsy. Like they genuinely were printed, and you went, "What a waste! What is this? This is just bad on the gut. Bad on day 0. It was just not good." Whereas Verdant's didn't. I know she isn't that great. She didn't feel bad though. Do you know what I mean? You kind of go, something's there, but not yet. But whereas Olympia and Arachne and everyone else, you just go, nah, it's trash. Don't bother, just leave. And Riptide as well, nah, leave.
I mean,
I know he picked up, but yeah.
Pablo Pintor actually played Riptide for Pros for Amsterdam.
Yes,
so,
he did. He's got there. He's got legs and stuff. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Riptide doesn't feel like bloat. Riptide and Verdance don't feel like bloat. Betsy and Olympia are, and Arachne. They're like, well, no, I'm being, maybe, okay. No, I think Arachne's just maybe not now because he's obviously going to get some new stuff, and it just seems like Arachne 2.0 at this point because it was not very good on concept release, but he is one of those heroes I like, I guess.
I really like the original concept of Arachne because it's like, you can kind of counter pitch deck your opponent, and you're like, okay, this is like an aggro deck. I want all of his reds in the first cycle and all of his blues in the second cycle, and then we just after a couple of turns, he's just dead.
Right.
He's just out of resources.
Right.
Or
so why was it not?
Or the other way around, like put all the reds in your Guardian opponents. Like have your red D react in your second cycle.
Yeah.
You'll be happy with that. I really like the concept of it. I just don't. I think he's missing a few cards for that kind of playstyle. But
Sure.
it's like near good.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get this sort of finalized. Jimmy, Ian, just to answer this, do you think there's too many heroes in the game or not?
I don't think so at the moment.
No.
Like I actually kind of thought Vincent was one of them, but she's kind of like doing okay now. I think I saw Mara
That's
play.
fine.
Yeah.
I saw Mara play Vincent. I was like, Vincent's fine. So I feel like every hero will get there. Oh, we're kind of fine now.
Yeah, it was. I think what really to me maybe did it was last year was in terms of power, in terms of meta change, and I know it's because the Tales of Aria heroes were sort of, and a bit of the Uprising heroes, which were the big powerful, like Fab 1 point, the start of Fab, Chain, Prism, all that sort of stuff. They were like hanging on, and then they sort of, I know powered down Flesh and Blood is probably not entirely true, but they were just starting on a bit more of a lower power field from Outsiders onwards. So that whole year, those heroes didn't come in gut punching like MST did, or do you know what I mean? They were all like, we're cool, I guess. So everyone, you just had a whole year of bringing stuff out, and everyone went, they're fine, I guess, they're fine. It's not Oldham or Lexi, or Icelander. And now you still got all of them. And then we got this whole year's worth. And then this year was a little bit stronger than last year. So last year is still just kind of hangers on of like, okay, I guess, do you know what I mean? I think that last year was kind of the bloating. None of them pushing through. They just sit there. And then the new lot is even outdoing them. And that's what's kind of made it go, oh, I guess we're sitting on 33. Whereas if those heroes are actually pretty good, like Enigma and Zen, and even KO or Aurora, do you know what I mean? Like any of them just come out of the gates swinging on those levels, I think would have been seeing more people hitting Living Legend, I feel.
I kind of think like the exception is heavy hitters, because I feel like they made that set because they wanted to make a Guardian Warrior draft set. And there turned out to be a better Warrior and a worse Warrior, and a better Guardian and a worse Guardian. It could have played out differently in CC, but I think in CC it played out kind of the same as it did in draft, where Kasai is better than Olympia, and Victor is miles better than Betsy.
Yeah.
And then Dory is even better than Kasai. So.
Yeah, but it'd be like, I feel like that one was just kind of a weird one. But I do agree with you, that one is maybe a bit bloaty.
Yeah.
Those heroes don't really have their own space in the hero pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it should have just been Blitz heroes. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Because they did that in Outsiders, didn't they? They printed out like 6 Blitz
Benji
heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also made Arachne. That in Outsiders. That was Blitz only. Benji was Blitz only. And then they just went, oh no, but his 2. I loved that. I actually thought that was a really clever way of doing it, of going, I want to get draft to have 6 heroes, but we only want to introduce 2 heroes. Whereas heavy hitters was like the polar opposite of where they went, no, they're all draftable and they all got CC, and our kind of downside is we just reprinted Reiner, sure, whatever, but here's 5 heroes, and you're like, okay, all right, okay, sure. None of them going anywhere.
Yeah, and then sometimes you pull the Majestic Olympia and you're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I was gonna say, but there's really no harm in there being the CC Olympia and CC Betsy. Like, you play them if you want to play them, and you don't play them if you don't want to play them. And then I remembered what Ian said, and he's right. So
yeah, when you pick up,
that's the harm.
Yeah, that's the harm. Right, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much, guys, for this very interesting, in-depth, all over the shop topic. Yeah, it was all over the shop. I really enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it too, leave a comment below. Again, if you want to slam down a topic for the next episode, leave one there. Like and subscribe. And Jimmy, Ian, thank you so much for your time.